and let's go ahead and begin. So again, today we're going to be covering the Caspio interface overview, importing data. We're going to work at table design, searchable reports, submission forms, and deployment. Let me show you an example of what I have on my website so you can see exactly what we're going to be building today. So in today's session, we're going to take a look to see how to build a search form to be able to see the results. And then we're going to be able to drill down to details to see additional info about each record. So this is a standard data page inside Caspio. It's called a report, and this is really to output the data. We're also going to be looking at how to build an input form, which is an entry form, to submit data. So this is a submit form, and over here we have a search form. So input, and basic output. And that's what we're going to be building today in today's session. So let's go inside our Caspio account now. And what you're looking at first when you first log into your Caspio account is the dashboard overview. Okay, so you're looking at your dashboard, and here you have the ability to create new apps. And when you create an app, it's just going to be listed. Let's name this one Sample App. You can see that all the apps are going to be listed here in the dashboard view. And as you build more apps, you're going to be able to see additional apps in the list view. App can be a CRM, an application could be just a basic report. You can build an application like a task manager or project management. So all of your apps are going to be listed in the dashboard view. And down below, you're going to be able to see all assets, which is a combination of all of your data pages and all of the tables that you build across all of your apps. Okay, so let's go ahead and unmute the line just to make sure that anybody has any questions of what I've just covered up to this point. I'm going to go ahead and unmute the line. Let me know if there are any questions. You can also submit your question using the chat tool. All right. When you look at the top here, this is really the main navigation menu of your Caspio Bridge account. Every time you click on home, it's going to take you back to your dashboard view where you can see all of your applications. Messages, you receive any system alert or system message if you uploaded your data. If Caspio has a message for you, you're going to be able to see that here. Under the account tab, you can go to your profile, and here you can edit your personal information. You can also change your password if you'd like. The second link is the access permissions. So it's very important to note that here you can create access permissions to who can log into your Caspio Bridge account. Perhaps up to this point you're the only person who has the credentials to log into your Caspio account. But if you do have other employees in your company, for example, other additional IT employees, you can create additional profiles for each one of the employees, and they can all be logged into your Caspio account simultaneously to work on the applications. Okay, so here if you have 5 employees who need to work on tables, who need to work on apps, you can create that information and they can log into Caspio Bridge, and all of them can work on the app at the same time. Account settings, here you have the option to create some default settings for your time zone, your style that you're going to be applying to your data pages, and the localization. And we're going to get into this in a couple of minutes so you can see exactly, I'll come back to this so you can see exactly how this works inside your Caspio application process when you're building your apps. Usage and billing and change of plan is self-explanatory. Here you can add additional resources or change your plan according to your needs. Under tools, you have the ability to import data, import apps, or you can export data or export applications. Take a look at one of our applications here. We have a contacts demo app that currently has 8 data pages. If I go ahead and click on export, the system allows me to export data, just data if I only want to export to tables and views and files. I can also export an application, so you can select that from the drop-down menu. Now when you export an application, it's going to export everything that you've built for that app. You can export all the forms, all the reports, all the tables, views, authentications. This is especially useful if you're a reseller, or if you wanted to, let's say hypothetically you decide to cancel your account but you want to maintain your application, so if you ever come back to Caspio, you don't want to have to rebuild everything. So you can export all of your objects to your desktop, you can save your app, and if you decide to come back to Caspio, you can import everything back into your Caspio account. That way you don't have to rebuild your application in the future. So this is especially useful if you're selling apps and if you're looking to come back to Caspio at some point. So that covers the import and export. And under the help, you have a lot of resources available to you as you're building your application. You can go to our knowledge base, you can watch videos, you can also go to our online help. So just play around with these links here so you can see how you can get additional assistance when it comes to building your app. Okay, let me see if there are any questions on the main navigation menu. I'm going to go ahead and unmute the line. You can also submit your question in the chat window. All right, let's keep going. So let's go back to our home page now. And this is where we have the list of all of our applications. And I'm going to go ahead and delete the sample app that I just set up. So let's go ahead and delete that. And of course here we have the ability to keep all the objects, keep tables and files, keep the files only, or delete everything that's inside that application. So right now we're going to delete everything. Okay, and let's go ahead and create a new application. So I'm going to click on New App, and what we're going to do is we're going to import data from Excel. Let me show you my Excel file. And here's all my data that's currently residing inside my Excel document. You can upload data from Excel, XML, Access database, but if you don't have any existing data, you can build your application from scratch without having to upload the data. But in today's session, we're going to take a look and see how we can upload this contact database into our account and how we can build our application. The most important thing when you're uploading data from Excel is your very first row has the field name. So you can see first name, last name, phone number, and all the data below that first line. Let me go inside my Caspio account and show you how we can upload this data from Excel. Again, you click on New App, and you have the option to build your app by importing data, or you can also build your app from a blank app, which is basically I'm not importing any data, I'm going to build it from scratch. So let's go ahead and click on this button to import the data, and let's call this Contact Management. We're going to locate that contacts file that I have on my computer. I have it on my desktop. Go ahead and find it. Here we go. You're going to click Next. And let's go ahead and click on Next here. Let me finish this upload before I get to that question, Grace. Just give me a couple of seconds here. So in the wizard here, you can see that we're uploading our data. And Caspio Bridge will automatically let you know what table you're uploading. You have a couple of options here to upload the data. You can create a new table. You can replace an existing table inside your account. You can append new data, or you can update design. Let's call it Contacts, and let's click Next. And on this screen, Caspio will show you a sample of your database during the upload screen. So you can see a few records. You also have the ability to exclude the columns that you don't wish to upload by unchecking this box. From time to time, Caspio may make a mistake as far as the data type of that field. By default, you can see it's text 255, but if that certain column is a specific data type, you can change that directly in the upload wizard. Okay? You click on Import, and you can see that we have uploaded 209 records. We can see that it went to the Contact Management application, and now we're going to click on Close. Here's my application, and the next step is to really just click on Open. And before I show you the main control panel here on the left hand side, let me get to that question. Give me a second here. Do you have to name the range in Excel before importing? Can you maybe elaborate a little bit more on that, Gray, if you don't mind? Can you name the range in Excel? If you can just be a little bit more specific regarding that question, let me look at my Excel file as well. I don't think you have to name the range. I mean, we have 1 through 209 here. I guess I'm really not clear on the question. So we can take it offline if you'd like, Ray, or if you're going to be able to send in a follow-up question, I'll be happy to get to it. Okay, so let's move on then until you submit the follow-up question, if there are any. All right, so let me backtrack a little bit here. Let's go back to our dashboard. And what I had done is I clicked on Open on this application that's sitting inside our dashboard view. Okay, so we click on Open, and this takes you to the overview page of your application. Overview page is mostly informational. Here you can add notes or screenshots just to keep progress of what you're doing as far as the application. So for example, you can say, and you can save that note, so next time you log in, you're going to be able to see that note that pertains to your application. Okay, so let me take a look at the follow-up question. I don't think it is, Gray. So the question is basically, oftentimes in Excel, before uploading, you have a set name range before uploading to define the rows and columns you're updating. It does not sound like that is. I don't think that's a necessary step. I've personally never had to do that when uploading data, but you can play around with it and see if you get any issues uploading the data by doing so. And then let me know so I know for myself as well if you do end up getting to that point. All right. So that's the overview page for this application that we just created. Okay, you can go to your tables directly. These are all of the objects that are going to be used to build your application. So you're going to use more or less all of these objects when you build your app. And the first place that you want to begin is always your tables. So let's go to our tables for a second. And you can see that we uploaded the data inside our account. If I click on Open, you're going to be able to see all of those records that we just uploaded inside our account. You can also go to Table Design, and on the Table Design you can see all of the fields. Here you can modify existing fields or you can add additional fields to your table. So again, you can go back and forth between these two tabs to look at the data sheet view of the data that you just uploaded, or you can go to Table Design to look at all the fields that pertain to that application. And let me see if there are any more questions here. Okay, so I think Steve had a follow-up answer to Gray's question. So you don't have to name the range, but if you have an Excel file with named ranges, you can select which to import. Okay, thanks, Steve. All right, so let me go back to tables here and talk to you a little bit about the tables. So the tables are really the foundation of any application that you build inside your Caspio account. This is where all of your data is going to be stored. And up until this point, we had only uploaded one table. Inside Caspio, like I mentioned before, if you don't have existing data, you can always click on New Table, and you can build your table from scratch by inputting all of your fields that your table is going to have. So for example, first name, last name, phone number, and so on, depending on how many fields you're collecting inside your table. And then what you do is you click on Save. You're going to give your table a name, just something random here. Click Finish. And now you have two tables. The difference is that this second table that we just created from scratch, if I open it, you'll see that it's a blank table. It doesn't have any data. However, our other table that we uploaded from Excel, if I open it, you'll see that we have the data. Okay. Any questions on the table? Let me go ahead and unmute the line just to make sure everybody's following along. Okay, so let's go ahead and mute the line. I don't believe we have any more questions. Okay, we do have a question. If I want to export the data, where do I go? So if you wanted to export the data now that it's currently inside your Caspio account, you're going to go ahead and click on More. and export, which is the very last down below, the link down below here. So you click on export, and then you have the options that you can export your data in. So we have Access Database, Excel Workbook, CSV, or XML. Okay, so same way as you importing data, you can also export data to your desktop. Hopefully that answers your question. If you have a follow-up question, let me know. You're welcome. Okay, so let me go ahead and delete this table name that I just set up because we're not going to be using that. So I'm going to go ahead and click on delete. And now we just have one table, and we can see that it has 209 records. And let's now go to our data pages. Okay, so we're going to click on data pages. Now that you have at least one table created, you can go to data pages, and now you can start building your front-facing application, your interface that's going to be embedded into your website. Okay, so once the table is set up, you're going to click on new data page. This is going to open up the Caspio wizard that guides you step by step on how to build all of your front-facing apps. For example, you can build a submission form, you can build an update form, you can do password recovery. An example of a submission form is the one that we looked at just a couple of minutes ago when we began the training session. If you look at Add Contact, here is a submission form. So if you wanted to build an input form, you would select this data page type. Okay. Then you also have the ability to build reports. Reports are really the output of what's going to be displayed on the web. So an example of a tabular report, if we go back to our website example, we have the ability to search, see the results, and click on details to see additional info about each record. So you can see the illustration below. If you select tabular and if you go through the wizard, you're going to be able to build a search form, the results page, and drill down to details. Caspio also allows you to build calendars. These are typically used if you have events or if you wanted to show your employees what date and time they're supposed to come into work. Maybe a contact management application where you want to see your follow-ups. So you can select a calendar. You can also select a chart. Just like in Excel or Access Database, you can plot data on the chart if you have numerical data, so you can visualize that. And that's what we're going to be covering on Friday when we build our sales application. So if you do want to attend that, you're going to be able to see how to build these charts for your app. And if you're a little bit more technical, you can use and build HTML data pages. So if you know HTML, you can create an HTML data page and embed that into your website as well. We're not going to be covering this. This is a little bit more advanced, but if you have any specific questions on this, feel free to email me after the training session, and I'll happily give you my answers if you have any specific questions to the HTML data pages. Okay, so the first data page that I want to build is the ability to input additional contacts using a submission form into my table. So you select submission form, you click next. And this is very important. The very first drop down here is how you link your table to any data page that you build inside your account. So as you can see, this is our table that we just uploaded, the contacts table, and that's where all the fields are. First name, last name, phone number, email address. And I want to link that table to my form. The second one, this is where you name your data page. This is really for your eyes only. So you can call this whatever you want, input new contact form. The styles and localizations, which is covered in our Thursday session, these are the two tabs, styles and localization. Style pertains to the look and feel of your application or the aesthetics. You can fully modify your own style by going into the Styles tab. So if you wanted to change the background color of the fields, the color of your labels, extra padding, you will go to the Styles tab to modify that so your reports and all of your forms that you build will match the look and feel of your website or your brand. Okay, so it's fully customizable. To be honest, I have not seen a form on the web that I haven't been able to mimic inside Caspio, so it really is that customizable in terms of creating multiple columns and applying all the aesthetics to the look and feel. Localization also covered in the Thursday session. So down below you'll see localization. So if you wanted to apply changes to your buttons or change the language of your form, Let's say you wanted to have a form in Spanish translated as opposed to just English. Well, you will go to localization, you will set that up, and then you will apply that localization to your form right over here. Okay. And again, we're going to cover this in our Thursday session. If you have any specific questions on styles and localization, feel free to email me after the training session. For our training, I have set up a new style. I developed my own style from scratch for this training session, so I'm going to select that, and we're also going to use the English localization. We're not going to worry about this in the beginner session, but in the intermediate and advanced session, we're going to be covering password protection and authentication on how you can password protect your database. So for now, all we're going to do is click Next. And now you can see all the fields that are available for us to select from our table, because we had connected that table to our form. So we click Next, and now I want all of my fields in my web form. You can either select one by one, depending on what data you wish to collect, or you can click on the double arrow, and that's going to move all of your fields to the right. Click Next again, and when you get to the screen where you configure properties, this is more or less your main screen. You can select each field on the left-hand side, and you can make modifications for each field. So for example, we have the first name at the top, and you can make this field required, which means somebody has to fill that field in before they can submit the form. Under form element, you can see by default it's text field, and for the first name it makes sense for it to be a text field. However, you do have other options. You can make this a text area and change the width and height of your text area. You can also make it a radio button, checkbox, drop down, list box, and you have a couple more options down below. For now, we're going to make it a text field. Last name, which you can also make required if you'd like. You can also change the field width. So if you think you want the width of this field to be 50 characters, you can do that. You also have the option for character length max and min, which means that if I put 5 here under min, last name has to be 5 characters or more. Go back to 0, and then it cannot exceed 255 characters. Then you have the phone field, email, address, and then you can go down the list of all of your fields and make changes and apply those changes to each one of your fields. Alright, so let's go ahead and click Next here. And you can see the confirmation message. So after the form is submitted, this is what the user is going to see. You can customize this message to say whatever you want. You can say something like, okay. Down below you have the option for 2 checkboxes. So you can also send a notification email to anybody you want in the company once that form is submitted. You can also send an email back to the submitter of the form by enabling this checkbox and selecting email from the dropdown. So whatever email they provide in the form, they're going to get an email notification back to their account. So I think I have a few questions here. Let me take a look. Okay, so the first question is, what is the confirmation label used for? So I'm assuming you're referring to the confirmation here. Steve, is that correct? Let me go ahead and unmute the line. Give me a second. Hey, Steve, so you're referring to this, the confirmation label? So I will assume that you're talking about this confirmation label here. So basically, this message here happens to be after you submit a form. So when you make that submission, you're going to see a message that displays after the submission is submitted or after the form is submitted. So that's the confirmation label or the confirmation message. The second message is, or the second question, on the previous screen there was a Rules tab. What is that function? So the Rules tab, which is a little bit more advanced, let me go back here. Rules allows you to add a little bit more conditional logic to your form. So for example, if you had like a survey and somebody answers yes, you're going to have another field pop up underneath that for them to say why they selected yes. If you ever fill out a survey form if you get one of those questions. If yes, please explain in further detail. So it's a bit more conditional logic built in. This is actually covered in our advanced session, not in the basic. And this is also very easy to set up if you just follow the wizard. We do have tutorials on this as well and some videos that you can watch. So hopefully that answers your question, Gray, on the rules. All right, so we have another question. In the field date submitted on your form, is that filled automatically, or how do you set it to fill in any ID automatically? So when it comes to IDs, we're going to cover that in our advanced session also, and also the intermediate session, which is tomorrow. But let me back step a little bit here. So let me go back to our screen where you configure properties of each field. For date submitted, if I made it a date and time field in my table, which I haven't, I made it a text 255, we could actually make this be a hidden field as a timestamp. So the user doesn't actually see this field, it's going to be hidden on the form. But because right now it's set up as a text 255 field in my table, I don't have the option to make it a timestamp, as you can see. So it's going to be either one of these options. I will show you later actually on how you can make that changed in your table and how you can make this field be a timestamp as opposed to a text field. Confirmation label on, oh, okay, so on the previous screen. So you're referring to the repeat for confirmation label? Oh, right over here, confirmation label. So this is used if you wanted the user to submit the same input twice. So let's say, for example, email is a text field, and if you say repeat for confirmation, this means that they have to submit the email twice, the same email twice. You will typically see this on the registration form if you wanted to collect the same data twice, just to make sure that the user submits the same thing twice and they don't submit the wrong email or the wrong password when they create the password. Sure. Okay, so let's go ahead and move forward here. Let me go ahead and mute the line again. We're almost done building this form. So again, you set up all of your fields here, the confirmation after you submit the form, and then you can trigger 2 emails, which we're not going to set up at this point, but if you click next here, if you did enable these 2 checkboxes and click next, you will be able to set up both the acknowledgement email and the notification email to trigger those 2 automatic emails once the form is submitted. So I'm going to disable that for now and go ahead and click finish. And here is your first data page, your very first form that you created inside your Caspio account. So the first thing we have to do is build our table, and then we built our form, linking that form to our table. So if you wanted to see what the form looked like, you can click on the preview link, which is going to open up a new tab, and here is our submission form. So let's go ahead and make one submission into our database from the preview screen. So we're going to say Mary Jones, and then the rest of these fields are not required. We're just going to go ahead and click on submit. And you can see, thank you for your submission confirmation message. Let me go ahead and close the preview mode. And let's go to our table now so you can see how your form is linked to your table. So we're going to go ahead and click on open. And if you scroll all the way to the bottom, you're going to be able to see that new record now attached to your table. Of course, we didn't submit any of the other information, that's why it's all blank. As an administrator or as an admin of your Caspio account, you have the ability to go directly to your tables and directly to your database, and you can modify data directly from within the table if you want to make any changes to any of the data that's being submitted. Now let me go back to DataPages, and let's assume that we're happy with the preview of our form. You're happy with the way the form looks. Now you want to push this form to your website so other members can submit data directly from your web page. So what you do in this case, you click on deploy. You're going to go ahead and enable this, and Caspio gives you 4 deployment options. The first option is the embed, which is the most popular method that Caspio has. Over 70% of all of our clients use the embed model. And what that means, you're going to copy this code and you're going to paste that code into your HTML into your website, your CMS system. And Caspio is compatible with a lot of tools out there. So if you're using GoDaddy, Wix, WordPress, Joomla, Weebly, just know that Caspio's code will work effectively and is compatible with those systems. So all you have to do is copy the code, paste it, and publish your page. And this form will seamlessly embed into your website. And we're going to take a look at this in just a minute here so you can see how that works. You also have the ability to share the form using a URL. So if you don't want to embed this into your website, you can use this direct link. So let me show you what that looks like. So if I just paste that link right over here in my URL address bar, you're going to be able to see that form. Okay, so if you have a quick survey or a quick form, something that doesn't need to be embedded into a website, you can just send this URL via email to anybody who you'd like to have fill out this form. Now, of course, as you can see, this link is practically impossible to memorize. So what you can do in that case is you can bookmark it to your browser, and then every time you click on that bookmarked link, it's going to open up this form. Let me go ahead and unmute the line just to see if anybody has any question up to this point as far as deployment. All right, let's go ahead and keep going then. So let's go back to our Caspio account. The third way of deploying is using a frame, or iframe in this case. Iframe is typically used, let's say you have a website on your home page, and you only have a limited amount of space where you want to deploy your Caspio form. But at the same time, you know that your Caspio form is really big, and it's not going to fit in a small window of your home page. Well, the iframe allows you to have scrolling bars up and down, left and right. So then this form will fit inside that little window on your website, but the users will have to scroll up and down, left and right to be able to fill out all of the fields. So the iframe, the benefit of it is if you're working with a limited amount of space on your website, you can deploy using an iframe. And the very last deployment option that we have is .NET. So if you're working inside SharePoint or a .NET environment, works just like the embed code. All you have to do is copy and paste this code into your .NET environment, and then this DataPage will seamlessly embed in that platform as well. All right, I think I have a question. The question is, would that link be used when embedding in an email for someone to sign up for your database? So the only deployment option that's going to work inside the email is this URL. And then the user is going to have to click on this URL, and they'll take them to the web to fill out the form. You cannot use the embed code inside the email, body of the email, to be able to display the form inside the email itself. So you will have to use the URL. Does that answer your question, Gray? Hopefully. Another thing that you can do inside the email, if you embed the form into your actual website, let's see, can you frame the form to show up as a landscape columns rather than rows portrait? Frame the form to show up as a landscape columns rather than rows portrait. So are you referring to the design as far as one column? You were asking me if you can do multiple columns inside the form, so not just a single column. Yes, you can do that. That's done in the DataPage wizard. We actually cover this in our Thursday session to create multiple columns, and everything that has to do with styling and aesthetics is covered on the Thursday session. I actually have that recording, Gray, which we did last week. So if you want, if anybody is interested in our styles and localization training session, I can email you the link to the video today, and then you can watch along before you even attend the Thursday session this week. So let me know if you want that session. I can email it to you. You can learn how to create multiple columns and how you can dress up your form a little bit nicer. Okay, so now let's take a look and let's actually embed this form into our web page. So now that I'm happy with the look and feel, I'm going to go ahead and click on deploy, and I'm going to use the embed model. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this code, hit close, and I have set up a sample landing page. Right over here you can see that I'm going to embed our contact form or add new contact to this part of my website. Okay, so let me open up my script. Now I am fairly technical myself. I work directly inside HTML. I have my two web pages set up, add.html and search.html. So if you look on my website, there's my add.html and search.html. You may be using GoDaddy, you may be using Wix, which is a lot easier to set up your website. They have drag and drop systems, so you can create your navigation pages easier. And then all you have to do is drag their widgets into that part of the website wherever you wish to embed this code into. I have my own placeholder in between these two div tags, and I'm going to go ahead and paste that code that I just copied from Caspio in this part of my website. Here's my Caspio deploy code. I'm going to go ahead and save my script, and then once you publish your page and refresh your website and go to that, wait a minute, am I not using the right page? Let me see. Here it is. Okay, I just had to refresh this page. You can see that now our form seamlessly embeds in this page, add.html. But again, if you're using Wix or WordPress, it's a lot easier. All you have to do is drag a widget to that part of the website, paste the Caspio code there, and then you're going to be able to see that form seamlessly embed. So now the beauty of the Caspio form is once you fill out this form again, let's say Tom Perkins' phone number is something random, and we'll say email tom@test.com and click submit. So now the form is on my website, and of course, because I made the confirmation label, if you remember Steve's question, I had enabled repeat email confirmation, so I have to make sure I put the same email twice. So this is a good test here to make sure that this system works. So we click submit, and now the submission goes through. If you look at your table now inside your Caspio account, and if you open the contacts table, let's scroll all the way down, you're going to be able to see that new submission that came directly from your website. Okay. Any questions on linking tables and data pages together? Because this is really how you set up your application in Caspio. These two tabs are your main tabs. This is what you're going to be working with the most. You set up your backend tables correctly, just like you would in Excel or Access database, and then you will build all of your forms and reports based on these tables. So let me unmute the line to see if anybody has any questions based on what we have done so far. Okay, so there's a question, will any training be offered regarding using your WordPress plugin with the tables? LJ, we don't have any training on that, but depending on the plan, hopefully you're on our standard account or you have some kind of a support plan where you can ask the support team on how to do that. We also have a tutorial on the how-to page. Let me go there really quickly. In our knowledge base, howto.caspio.com, if you search for plugin, I believe. I haven't used it in a little while. There should be a WordPress plugin deploying into WordPress. And this tutorial here will explain to you how you can use WordPress with Caspio deployment. Okay, so just if you're unsure on how to do this, it's very, very easy. It takes literally 5 minutes. If you read this tutorial yourself in your time, you're going to be able to do this fairly quickly. Okay? So I will mute the line again, and let's move on. All right, so the next data page that I build, now that we know how to build data pages, I'm going to speed through this a little bit, because now that we have built our submission form, which is to input data, now I want to display data on my website using a report data page. So we're going to click on new data page type, just like we did before. And this time, instead of building an input form using a submission form, we're going to build a report to display our data. And I recommend tabular. This is the most popular report, or the way you can display data, which is rows and columns in your results page. We do have other options for customization. You can use gallery or list layout. Gallery is typically used if you have images, for example, real estate, and if you wanted to group your data together inside a box for each record. List view is very similar to gallery, except that it extends all the way across your web page. We also have direct to details, so you can search and go directly to details, so we avoid the results part. And last but not least, we have actually a customized data page here that if you want to display data on a chart and see the data below in a tabular format, So this is a combination of a chart and results on the same results page. Okay, so if you do have numerical data, if you're displaying that, then this is a very useful data page you can build. But for now, we're going to build a tabular report, and we're going to go ahead and click on Next. And same thing we did with the form, we're going to select our contacts table because that's the data that we want to show on our website. All the data resides inside our contacts table. And let's call this View Contacts Report. I'm going to apply my same style, same localization, and again, we're going to leave this unchecked until tomorrow's session. You have two options here, two radio buttons. One radio button is to create a search form, which allows the user to manually search the data. So let me go to our live example so you can see. So this is a search form. If you don't wish the user to see the search form, you just want to display the data in a results page, you can select the second radio button. And what that means is when people click on that link, you're not going to be able to see the search form. You're going to go directly to the results page. So you avoid that step of searching. Instead, you're selecting your predefined value on what you wish to display inside the report. For now, we're going to select the search form. We're going to click Next. And inside my search form, I would like to be able to search based on first name, last name. Let me see which fields I have on my search form. First name, last name, city, and phone number. And I'm also going to include city and phone number. Of course, you can include additional search fields. It's up to you how you define your report. And then here you have the option to configure the properties of each search field. So you have first name. Again, it's set up as a text field, and the comparison type is equal. I usually like to go with contains instead of equal, and the reason is because with contains, or if I leave it as equal, I have to know the exact first name of the person that I'm searching for. But if you put contains, then it's only partial keywords. If I only know a letter or two, it's going to return my results that contain those letters. So it gives you a broader way of searching for your database in case you don't know the exact first name of that person. Of course, you don't have to use text field. You also have options for radio buttons, checkbox, drop-down, list box, and my personal favorite, which is autocomplete. Autocomplete works like Google search. So if you type in a letter, it's automatically going to give you options below the field of what's available from within your table. And I'm going to use autocomplete for each one of my search fields. And we're going to use the comparison type contains instead of begins with. And in just a minute, you'll see how autocomplete works on the search form. In fact, I think I might already have that enabled here. So if I look at my first name here, and if I type letter A, I don't think I have it enabled for this example. So let's finish building this report so you can see how this works, autocomplete. So last name, autocomplete, contains, city, again, autocomplete contains, and last but not least, we have the phone number, autocomplete contains. Click Next, and on this screen, you choose what you would like to display on your results page. So after you click Search, this is our results page. So we have first name, last name, phone number, email, and a few additional fields. So I'm going to select what I want to display on my results page, first name, last name, phone, email, maybe zip code, and company name. It's always best practice to keep this anywhere from 6 to 10 fields, because as you can imagine, if you have additional fields, it's only going to stretch out your report, and depending on the space of how much you have on your web page, it may go over and you may not be able to see additional columns, and you'll have to scroll left and right on the browser to be able to see those additional columns. If you want to show additional information about each record, well, that's what the details page is for, and we're going to get there in just a second. So let's click Next here. On the results page, you can also configure each one of your fields. For example, email, you can see that it's rendered as a text field. Well, you can render this as an email link, so it's clickable directly on the results page. If you look at our example, you can see that the email field is clickable, or this column, because we're rendering this instead of text to a link. So let's click Next. Here we are displaying 25 records per page. What this number here means is how many records you decide to display per page. You can see that here we're listing 25 records per page, and then we can navigate over to the second page if we wanted to see the next 25 records. You can change this number to whatever you want. You can also enable delete record. So whoever sees that result will be able to click on the delete link to be able to delete that record. Now, this is public-facing data without a password protection. I don't think there's a use case where you want to have the delete link because you don't want somebody to go to your website and delete your data. So only enable this if you're using the password protection, which we're going to cover in tomorrow's session. So for now, let's not delete any records. Let's click Next. And here we have the ability to either enable a details link or disable a details link. You can either choose to display delete the details page or don't display it, or you can enable it. And for now, let's go ahead and enable the details page. And inside my details page, I'm going to show all of my records. Okay, because if I don't have a chance to show it all on the results page, at least I have the ability to show it on the details page. And last but not least, you can notice that on the details page, when you configure properties for each one of your fields, by default, all of the fields are display only. In other words, read only. You can't make any changes to it. But you could make this editable by changing the formatting of your field. For now, let's leave it all display only and click Finish. And there's your second data page. Now we have the ability to input data using a submission form, and now we have the ability to output the data using a report. So let's click on Preview to see what it looks like. We click Search. We're able to see our results, and then we can go to the Details page to view additional information about that record. So if you're happy with the look and feel of this report, you can go ahead and click on the Deploy link, enable access, and let's copy this snippet of code into our script. So let's go to our script here, search.html, and there's my placeholder. I'm going to go ahead and paste my second code inside this page. I'm going to save my script, and let's go to our web page example and refresh our page. Alright, so now we have the ability to input data using an entry form, and we have the ability to search contacts using a report. So when I click search, I can see all of the results, and I can go to details to see additional info. So let's put it all together. Let's add, for example, first name Bobby Jones, and let's go ahead and click on submit. And now let's go to search contacts, and this is how autocomplete works. If I type in the letter B, you're going to see all the available options from within my table. And there's our latest name, Bobby. And as you're typing, it eliminates other options that are available from within my table. So now I can search for Bobby, click search, and that's going to show me that record. Okay, so let me unmute the line now to see if anybody has any question on what we have done up to this point, building an input form and our results page. And as you can see, both of these data pages are linked to the same table. So I'm going to go ahead and unmute the line to see if there are any questions. Also, you can submit your question using the chat window. I'm sorry, I wasn't able to understand that question. It's a little bit distorted. Do you mind typing that question in the chat tool? Okay, so the calculated field, that's a good question. I'm going to go ahead and cover that in our Friday session when I show you how to build that sales app. And in the Friday session, we're going to cover the calculations on how you can add revenue from each sales employee. And then we can see the aggregated value at the bottom, so we can see a total group based on month, based on employee. So that'll be a good session to attend. And forgive me if I'm mispronouncing the name. Yura, let me know in the email how to pronounce your name later on if you do end up joining our other sessions, okay? So yeah, this is officially the end of our training session. We have, let's see, we have about 5 to 10 minutes for any Q&A. Let me go back to my presentation here for a second. And let's skip a few steps here until we get to my contact info. So like I said in the beginning of the session, if anybody has any questions, specific questions, or if you need some help with regards to the training, send me an email. I'm more than happy to assist you. And if I have the time, I'm going to go ahead and reply back via email right away regarding that question that you might have. And I think I do have additional questions here. Let me take a look. From LJ, so is there a way to add an image as a data field? The answer is yes. In fact, if I go back to my Caspio account, if you go to tables here, LJ, so let's take a look at this table. And if you click on design mode, so remember, we can click on open to look at the raw data like this, but if you go to table design, you can add that field, and let's call it image, and instead of text 255, you can make this a file type, and if you make it a file type, that's going to create a browse button on your submission form. And I also wanted to show you that date submitted field. Like I said, if we can make this a timestamp or a date and time field, let's make it a date and time field for now. Let's go ahead and click on save. And it's just going to ask you, do you want to convert the date submitted from text 255 to date and time field? We're going to say proceed. Okay. And then you can go back to your tables. If you click on design mode again, you're going to be able to see that now that field is a date and time. And we have our image file type. So if you go back to your data page now, and if you edit your entry form, you will see those two fields are now available. You will have to import or include that field again in your form because we made changes to it in the table. So date submitted has to go back inside the form, and then the image field, which is our new field that we added to the table, but as you can see, now it's available for us to pick in the DataPage wizard. So we click next, and the date submitted field, now we have the option to make it a timestamp. And if you do that, you'll see that the field is hidden. It's not going to appear on our entry form, but it's going to be a hidden field, and every time somebody submits the form, it's going to stamp the date and time of that submission. And there's our image field. It's going to be a file type. And inside Caspio, you have up to 50 megabytes per file upload. So if you want users to submit more than one image, then you have to create additional fields in your table. For example, image 1, image 2, image 3, so on and so forth. So let's make it 10 megabytes, and let's click finish per file. So total megabytes per file. So let's say image cannot exceed 50 megabytes. So we click finish here, and let's go ahead and refresh our form. I think, this is our testing one here. So let's go ahead and refresh, and now you can see that that field for date and time is no longer present, and we have the image field where we can add our images to the table. So for example, let's say Kim Jones. And I don't know if I have any files to upload, unfortunately. Let me see if I can. Why don't we upload this hamburger, which we did last week. So let's go ahead and upload this image. Click submit. Your submission was successful. And then when you go back to your table now and open it, scroll all the way down. And now you can see that submission here, but you can also see the date and time of the submission. And you can also find that file here. Okay. Now that you have the file uploaded, if you wanted to display this image on your report, you can do that. So for example, if you go back to DataPages, and if you edit your report, let me show you what you can do here. So obviously you're not going to search on the image, so you don't need to include that in the search form. But in the results page, let's say you wanted to display that image in the results page. I'm going to go ahead and move that image to be the very first column of my results page. And I'm going to display it as an image. We're going to render that file as an actual image. And let's make this a thumbnail, maybe of 75 pixels. And you're going to leave the height blank because you don't want to skew your image when it's being displayed on the report. You want to maintain the same width and height of that image when it was uploaded inside Caspio. Because if you make it 75 by 75 and the original image was, let's say, 200 by 100, it's not going to look right. So let's leave it at 75. And I also want to include this image in my details page. I'm going to move it to the very top. We're going to say display it as an image, and now in my details page, let's make it a little bit of a bigger image. Let's say maybe 450, and the height will adjust accordingly. Click Finish. And now let's go ahead and refresh our website. Click Search. And you have to know who you're searching for, because you can see here when you click Search, a lot of these are blank because we don't have those records inside our table, those images for each one of these records. But I know that my image belongs to Kim. So we're going to go ahead and click on Search, and you can see that burger image displayed for this record. You can also go to Details, and you can see the bigger image of that specific hamburger and additional details displayed. Hopefully that covers a little bit more as far as images and being able to upload files. Let me know if that helps, if you need to see anything else. Sure, you're welcome. And again, LJ, if you have any more specific questions, we can take it offline. Feel free to send me an email. Let me go back to my presentation here. So for everybody else that's inside today's training session, if you have additional questions, if you need some quick assistance, go ahead and send me an email. I do prefer that if you are on the standard plan and if you have a support plan, that you go through that avenue first to see if anybody can help you, which they should be able to. We have some highly technical people on our support team. And also, depending on your plan, you may be eligible for 2 hours of onboarding, which is hand-holding assistance by a technical account manager. The training sessions are really designed to get your knowledge, to teach you the basics, give you the general knowledge on Caspio. It may not pertain to what you're trying to build, but hopefully what you learn from these training sessions, you're going to be able to put it all together and use it for your own apps. Okay. So in the reports view, you are using, are the columns sortable by clicking on the heading? Good question, great. Yes, they are. Let me go back to our website example. So the question is, when you get to the results page, can you click on these links to sort your data? And the answer is yes. So for example, if you wanted to sort based on alphabetically from A to Z, you'll see that it sorts them from A to Z. If you click on it again, it's going to go from Z to A. So it sorts it back this way. There are a couple of options here, Gray, that you can enable inside your results page. So for example, if you edit that report again, and just keep in mind that you don't have to click next every time you need to get to where you need to get to. You can click on a double arrow, and these are all the steps in the DataPage wizard that you can navigate directly right away without having to click next every time. So where I want to go is search results options. And here, Gray, you can automatically sort your data based on your fields, Z to A or Z to A, or A to Z. So for example, if you wanted by default your data to be sorted based on A to Z, automatically as soon as you click search, it's going to list your data alphabetically from A to Z, or vice versa if you want it from Z to A, based on this field name. That's one way of doing it. By clicking on the column heading, you can sort your data. You can also have it be by drop-down list, which is also another cool option here. So if you select this radio button, it opens up an additional wizard where you can sort based on any one of the fields that you wish to include. So for example, I want to sort based on first name in the ascending order A to Z, but I also want descending order Z to A. I also want to include this. I don't want to include the phone number. Email I want to include. Make sure I include these guys here. Zip code, I don't want to sort. Company name, I would like to sort A to Z and Z to A. And image doesn't make sense, so let's disable that. So if you enable this option, sort by, and you click OK, you'll see this radio button is now available. So you're no longer sorting based on column title. You'll now have a drop down. So let me click Finish. Refresh. You see that you can no longer sort based on column heading. We have this drop down at the top where we can sort A to Z or Z to A on any one of the fields. So it's just a different way of sorting. Inside the wizard you can enable that. Okay. There are a couple of other things. If you wanted to download the data directly from the website, you can do that as well. So if you edit the report, and I don't want to overwhelm you, a lot of this stuff is covered in our later training sessions. But one more thing that I'll show you guys here is that if you click next, And if you enable advanced options here in the beginning of your data page wizard, and if you navigate over to your results page, you'll see that now this advanced tab is available because we enabled that advanced checkbox in the beginning. So if you click on the advanced tab, you have a few more customization options here available to you. You can hide record count, which means on the results page, you can hide the record count, what you see here. Also, you can enable your users to download the data from the results page in either XML format or a more popular option, which is CSV. And you can download it zipped. So what this means, if I click finish and refresh, let's go to the top. Now you can sort, but you can also download the results. So whatever people find on the results page, so let's click search and search for Bobby, for example, which is only one record. And if I click on download data, it's going to download it as a zip file to your desktop. So this is especially useful if you have employees who always want to be able to save records to their desktop in Excel format CSV. So if I double click on that, and if I view the context, I can open this up, and there's that downloaded record inside Excel. A few more options while I enable that advanced checkbox so you can see some other options here. Let's go back to search and see the results. And let's go back to DataPages, click on edit again. And one thing that I didn't mention, the nice thing about Caspio, whatever changes you make inside your Caspio account and you click finish, you never have to redeploy that code twice, the deployment code. So whatever change you make inside Caspio will automatically reflect on your website as well. So it keeps all of the changes. So let's go to our page where we need to get to in the advanced tab. If you look all the way at the bottom, you can also update records directly from the results page. Okay, so if I click finish here, if I click preview and search, you can see now that we can go to the details page where you can make all of your fields editable, or you can click on the edit link and you can edit directly from the results page. Now, inside Caspio, there is a way to make these fields not appear as wide. You can see they all have the same width. It's static across. But obviously, you know, on the website, if you enable that, it's going to go ahead and stretch out your results page. And you really don't have a need to be able to have a field be this wide. So we do have a tutorial on how you can make these fields a little bit less wide. That way it all squeezes nicely inside your web page. Okay, and then once you make the changes to your record, let's say something like this, and you click on modify, it'll modify that record for you right there on the results page. Okay, so that covers that advanced tab tutorial, and when you enable those advanced options, which gives your reporting capabilities a lot more options to be able to customize and give you some nicer features inside your reports. All right, thanks, Gray. Hope you have a good day. Does anybody have any more questions? Again, like I keep saying, if you have additional questions, send me an email after the training sessions. I'm more than happy to assist you, and we are going to have this recorded today. So if you wanted to get a copy of this video, send me an email as well, and I will send you the link later on today once we upload this video to our YouTube channel. So if there are no more questions, I thank everybody for joining in today. I hope that was informational, and hopefully you can benefit from today's training session. And tomorrow we're going to be having an intermediate session where we cover password protection and a few more advanced options, how we can password protect our database. Okay, so I'm going to leave the line open for about a minute, and let me know if there are any additional questions. Thanks, guys. I hope everybody has a good day. Thank you all. I'm going to go ahead and end the line now. Again, if you have questions, send me an email. If not, I hope everybody has a good day, and I hope to see you tomorrow in our intermediate training session. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.